good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, to all the places you are in. And welcome again to today's webinar on Leading of Double Materiality. It is a volume 2 of EFRAG ESRS SET 1 Early Adopters Insight. My name is Neha, and I will be your moderator throughout today's session. So kindly bear with me. Yes. So before we dive in, let me quickly go over a few housekeeping announcements. This webinar will be recorded and we will share the recording with all attendees afterwards. Please use the Q&A section to submit your questions during the session. We will address as many of them as possible during the dedicated Q&A segment at the end. If you experience any technical difficulties, feel free to message us using the chat option, and our support team will assist you. Please remember, in UK, we operate with the trade name of Phoenix Solutions, and we are not at all associated with any IRIS software group. Feel free to post your questions in the chat throughout the presentation, and we will address them during the Q&A. I'm excited to share special offers exclusively for today's attendees. It's a surprise which will be announced at the end of the session. All you need to do is send an email to info@iriscarbon.com to avail to this limited time offer. So don't miss out. And also today in today's webinar, we will be conducting some interactive polls to gather your feedback and thoughts. So keep on engaging with the webinar. So I would like to begin by introducing our speakers here. Myself, Neha, your moderator for today's webinar. I'm having 14 plus years of experience specializes in navigating complex reporting mandates across regions, right? US, Europe, and the UK region. Currently heading customer success in the EU-UK region, also collaborating with industry leaders to create roadmaps for effective ESG integration and impactful financial reporting. We have Shambho. Shambho comes with a rich and robust experience from Ernst & Young in consulting companies across multiple geographies and industries. He has helped several organizations with their ESG reports, strategies, materiality, and risk assessment, as well as rating improvements. Shambho also helped companies in collating and reporting data for reporting frameworks, as well as reporting agencies such as DJSI and CDP. So Shambho, say hi to our attendees. Then we have Biswajit, with rich experience as an ESG subject matter expert, specializes in navigating complex ESG and sustainability reporting mandates across regions like the US, EU, and UK. Biswa excels in collecting and aggregating ESG data, enabling effective and interactive sustainability reporting. Biswa, would you like to say hi to our attendees?
Hi, everyone.
Yeah. So next we have Preetham. Preetham is having 13 plus years of experience in the SaaS industry and a subject matter expertise on ESG and digital reporting. Preetham is currently leading customer success in Germany. Preetham has a rich experience of managing regulatory needs in Europe, the UK, and the US. He also leverages his expertise by taking a quick recap in the ESRS timeline, implementation, and ESRS implementation stages, which we have covered in volume 1 of the webinar. So hi, Preetham, and please say hi to our attendees.
Everyone.
So yes, they will cover a wide range of topics today, including CSRD reporting, timelines, double materiality and its implementations, and many more. Now, let's quickly go through today's agenda. So our today's agenda would be introduction to IRIS and our ESG experts, CSRD and ESRS timeline recap, double materiality overview, double materiality assessment and practical illustrations, and interactive Q&A throughout the session. We are very excited to have our speakers with us today, which of whom brings a wealth of knowledge in ESG reporting and double materiality assessments. So let's get started. So first of all, I will be starting with IRIS Business and IRIS Carbon introduction, who we are and what we do. So by way of introduction, the name of our company is IRIS Business Services. We are a regulatory technology company that specializes in providing innovative solutions to regulators and supervisory bodies. At IRIS, we offer a complete suite of regulatory financial and non-financial reporting solutions, providing software platforms for document creation, data collection, and analysis. Our global reach extends to 54 countries with over 5,000 customers. We are proud to be a trusted partner in XBRL and structured data reporting, including our award-winning IRIS Carbon platform. IRIS Business operates in 3 segments: collect, create, and consume. Where collect segment serves regulators, products offered through the create segment help enterprises create their submission to regulators and are part of the company's growing portfolio of SaaS. The consume segment includes software tools for data analysis and a global repository of normalized financial and non-financial data called from filings which are publicly available. IRIS Carbon is a flagship product of IRIS Business and is in 35 plus countries and is a SaaS-based cloud solution for companies to manage internal and external reporting, whether it is your financial or non-financial report. IRIS Carbon customer satisfaction score is 4.8 out of 5, which is due to our valued and esteemed customers. Because of their valuable feedback, we have reached this score, and we are number 1 when it comes to XBRL quality. So during autumn, we are able to win so many awards from Gartner, G2, and Capterra. And this is again because of valuable feedback from all our clients and partners. So to all our partners and our clients, if you are attending this webinar, thank you once again. Our flagship solution, IRIS Carbon, offers everything from XBRL, IXBRL reporting to disclosure management and data analytics. So let's see IRIS Carbon product suite one by one. In the product suite, we have your all-in-one platform for comprehensive ESG reporting, streamlined data management, and impactful stakeholders communication. It's a collaborative cloud-based platform designed to simplify compliance with reporting standards across various taxonomies, including ISSB, GRI, ESRS, and more. We also have IRIS Carbon Disclosure Management Platform, which is Microsoft 365-based SaaS solution tailored for the Office of the CFO. The collaborative platform assists users in preparing, reviewing, and finalizing financial and non-financial reports like your annual report, quarterly report, your ESG report, your integrated report, or any internal reports. It will help you in a very highly efficient manner along with high quality XBRL in an XBRL reporting intact. We also have a simple, intuitive, and comprehensive solution to handle all your XBRL and IXBRL reporting needs across mandates and geographies. And the last but not the least, the ultimate solution for XBRL analytics. With our powerful add-in for Microsoft Excel, you can easily load and analyze XBRL data from public companies' filings using Iris Carbon iConnect platform. So this is all about Iris Carbon product suite. And these are few of the logos from a big list of clients. And these are our marquee clients. So we have these clients in Europe and from all industries and sizes. So we have Colruyt Group, which is the largest retailer in Belgium. Eni, largest energy firm. Nordicon is the largest construction company. So these are just a few numbers, and these are from our clients and partners all around the world. Coming to the next slide. So this is all about Iris business and Iris Carbon. Now we will quickly take a quick recap on the timelines of the corporate sustainability reporting directives and European sustainability reporting standards, which were covered in volume 1 of the webinar. So let's welcome Preetam Agrawal here, who will be speaking and taking a quick recap of the volume 1 of the webinar. So Preetam, over to you, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Neha, for such an insightful overview about ICE and ICE carbon. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ESG webinar, Volume 2. So now I will shift your focus on our next segment, which is the recap of the timeline of CSRD and ESRS. So as we know, we have already covered the timelines. We will be going with a small recap to see everyone on the same page, and we are all aware with the deadlines for the reporting. So by this time, we are all aware that every company must submit the sustainability report within the CSRD framework. And of course, yes, that comes with a certain deadlines to be followed. I will guide you all about who and when are all applicable and in what phases it has to be applied. So as we know, that corporate sustainability reporting directives has come a long way to make sustainability reporting more strong and transparent reporting, and that defines by January 2024 all the listed companies, particularly those that are reported under NFRD, will be the first one to submit the reports, which will be due in 2025. For large undertakings, the implementation will begin in January 2025 with the first report, which will be due in 2026, and the listed small and medium enterprise to start the reporting by 2027. But this doesn't stop over here. These standards will also be applied to various categories of the company over the time, eventually impacting even the non-European companies by January 2028, submit the report during 2029. So this is about the recap on the timelines, and we should be aware of this timeline, and we should follow this. We should comply with all the timelines of CSRD. So moving on to the next slide, it talks about the ESRS timelines. Yes, as we know that CSRD is important with important timelines, ESRS also comes with important timelines. So we know that final set 1 of ESRS taxonomy has been already published a couple of months away, but we are still waiting for industry-specific sections to get published. But yes, we need to definitely focus on ESRS timelines as well, where it started. We need to know how the journey has been for ESRS to finalize the set 1 of ESRS taxonomy. So yes, draft set 1 of ESRS taxonomy was first published or presented and was made available for the public consultation in July 2023. But then many to and fro discussions workshops happened to finalize the draft and was shared for the final approval during the second quarter 2024. With keeping in mind a plan to release the final set of taxonomy, set 1 of ESRS taxonomy, by August 2024. As you can see on the screen, the red dot, which very well presents where we stand in terms of ESRS taxonomy currently. But what we are going to do with this ESRS taxonomy when it's published? Yes, this taxonomy will be used or will be likely to be operational by 2025, post the release of ESRS RTS amendment, which is under consultation with the European Commission currently. So we must be wondering where we will be seeing all these external reports for all the information. But yes, there will be single European repository system wherein all the external reports will be available for the investors to see, and that will be likely to be available by 2028. So this is about your timelines considering CSRD and ESRS to make yourself available with the appropriate timelines. So moving on to the third slide. So when we know about the timelines of CSRD and ESRS implementation, yes, we need to find out how we are going to implement the ESRS reporting or ESG reporting. So we have 8 different implementation stages. First one talks about the ESRS requirements, wherein you can go ahead and prepare yourself at with the essential standards that apply to your company. Once you know that, we will be building your ESRS team, which basically will be involving stakeholders from multiple sectors or multiple departments, which is finance department, legal department, or any sustainability reporting department you have. So once we develop the ESRS team, the third stages will be your evaluation of the current practices to know where the organization stands in terms of ESG reporting. So when we know about the current stage of the reporting, we need to do a double materiality assessment to know the company's impact materiality on the society or the planet and the financial materiality impact on the company's financial performance. We will go deep dive into the double materiality in the later part of presentation, but yes, we need to be available and we need to be available with all the information from the materiality assessment. Post that, we will be engaging ourselves in the data collection and aggregation process that needs to be refined to ensure the accuracy and the completeness of the ESG data. Once that aggregated data is available with us, we will be using that or we will be leveraging that data for a preparation of ESG disclosures, which involves the conversion of data into meaningful and the compliant reporting. But before the final submission, we need to go and review we need to go and review the ESG data before we go for the publication. So the last step talks about the publication of the data, but after publication, we need to go for the iXBRL digital conversion for the ESG data for the submission with the regulator. So these are all the implementation stages wherein every company has to be following. Next slide. So now here comes the very interesting steps how the company Iris Carbon will be helping you in creation of your ESG data. So now the question is ESRS settlement taxonomy is already out and we all have fair idea on the same. But how Iris Carbon is going to help you, that we will go and understand that in detail. First step comes with the double materiality assessment. Yes, we will be assisting you in the double materiality assessment by the help of which material topics that are significant for the company in terms of economic, environmental, and social impact that have been determined. Then accordingly, you can engage yourself with your stakeholders to understand their perspectives and concerns. Then moving on to the gap analysis. Yes, we can very well go ahead and do a gap analysis by comparing your ESG report and the report you can prepare through our template-based ESG reporting module, depending upon your industry type, risk assessment, and the double maturity assessment. So when we are done with the gap analysis, we need to go further with the data aggregation and the collection. So when you have already defined or identified the material topic, you will need to gather the information and analyze data related to the specific material topic. We at Iris Carbon definitely will be assisting you in the collection of the data, aggregation, and analysis of the same to generate the meaningful information for your ESG reporting. Then comes with the predefined ESG reporting templates. Yes, with the help of industry-specific templates, the ESG reporting could be authored for review and the publication. When your ESG report is already ready, it could be digitally tagged as per the ESRS taxonomy. What we will be doing with the prepared report is that iXBRL tagged report could be compared taking the leverage of Iris Carbon, and once the ESG report gets started to be tagged, we will be able to share the comparison as well. Yes, this is all about the steps wherein Iris Carbon will be helping and assisting you in preparation of your ESG report. So that's it from my side. Now I will hand over the floor to Neha, and interesting poll is coming your way. Please participate to know where we stand in terms of ESG reporting. Over to you, Neha. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Preetham, for such an insightful and informative uh, recap. Yes, by now we all know the CSRD and ESRS timeline, where to start and what are the steps of ESG report. So before we dive into the heart of the discussion, let's start a quick poll to see where we are. Everyone stands in their ESG journey. So I will start a quick poll here, and I request everyone to please participate in this poll because this is something which is very important to know us where everyone stands. Please keep the polls coming in. We are getting a very good response here. I will be waiting for a few more seconds to publish the result here. Okay, and let me publish the result. And here is the result where 42% of the attendees are saying that they are somewhat familiar, 23% are very familiar, and 33% are not at all familiar. So you don't worry. Thank you for the responses. And yes, there are a mix of participants here. And for those who are unfamiliar, don't worry, we are got you covered. So next, let me share my screen again. And let me know if it's visible once it's visible. Yeah. Is it visible? Is my screen visible? Anyone from the speakers, please
Yes,
confirm.
it's visible to me.
Yeah, thank you so much. So yes, next and now for a surprise to everyone, we have a guest speakers joining us for a brief Q&A and how double materiality impacts investors. So now please welcome Shambho, who will walk us through the concept of double materiality in detail. So Shambho, the floor is all yours and over to you.
Thank you so much, Neha, for your kind introduction. And thanks, Preetham, for running everyone through a recap of the ESRS. So I'm Shambhu. Hello, everyone. And I'll be taking you through a brief context setting about double materiality, how it came about, what exactly it is, and why does it matter. Right? So to start off with, just to set the context, double materiality, in a way, traces its origins back to the concept of materiality from the financial world. Right? I'm sure many of you might be aware in the financial terms, materiality is about matters which are decision useful for either investors or any general purpose users of financial statements. So similarly, when it comes to ESG, it is just as important to identify matters which are material. And in this case, it's not just for investors. Since ESG covers a broad range of topics, there are a lot of stakeholders involved. So that is why materiality in the context of ESG refers to the selection of topics or matters which are important to all of the stakeholders and which the companies should report on based on the stakeholders' feedback, as well as what is considered as important for them. Right? And CSRD then introduced the concept of double materiality assessment pretty recently, just a few years back when it was published. So in the double materiality, here there are two approaches taken. Earlier, financial materiality and the impact materiality were different. From the financial world, of course, there was the full financial materiality concept, whereas for the ESG world, it was more about the impact materiality. Now, what CSRD has done is combined both of these approaches. And that is where you have the inside out approach as well as the outside-in approach. I'll talk a little bit more about it going forward in the upcoming slides. So after this, now I'll also take you through who are some of the stakeholders involved when it comes to double materiality. So as I mentioned earlier, in the case of the financial world, the materiality is important, especially for investors or maybe rating agencies or other users of the financial statements. Whereas when it comes to double materiality or when it comes to ESG, the materiality concept extends to a lot more stakeholders. Internal, of course, it's the employees board, the senior management, or the sustainability team. Everyone is involved. And in case of external stakeholders, you have the customers, you have the suppliers, you have a lot of the external stakeholders whom you consider as important. So now the question is, how do you identify, right? Like this is one of the very first steps in the double materiality assessment. So it's very critical that you identify the right set of stakeholders who would be involved in your double materiality assessment process. So in case of internal stakeholders, pretty much everyone would be involved, particularly the board and the senior management, and of course the sustainability team, like if there is a sustainability team within the organization. When it comes to employees, of course, for large organizations, it is simply impractical to get the survey or to get the opinion of all the employees. So in that case, you take a sample. You take a few employees and using them, you can take their opinions and then extend it to the larger audience. Now, when it comes to external stakeholders, the thresholds which are used for them could be similar, could be more in terms of financial terms. It could be like, for example, when it comes to suppliers, maybe you can say that the suppliers who have contracts over 10,000 euros or 50,000 euros, whatever works for you, right? Whatever you consider as large contacts and important suppliers. So they can be some of the important stakeholders. Similarly, customers as well, some of the large value customers, communities, the ones whom you engage with the most, some of the industry associations that you're involved in, investors as well, some of the large investors, and of course, regulatory bodies, if you have contact with them, they are also important, and any other external stakeholders whom you are regularly in touch with. It's very important to get their opinions as well in case of the double materiality assessment. Okay. So now moving on to the actual concept of double materiality. As I mentioned earlier, it is about taking both an inside out as well as an outside in approach. What does this mean? So this means in case of impact materiality, which is the inside out approach, it is about the impact that the company has on its external stakeholders as well as on the environment, on the external environment. Right? So that is what the impact materiality is all about. Now, how do you measure that? That is where it is very important to identify the right set of stakeholders, which is what I was just talking about in the previous slide. So that is why the impact materiality involves a lot of stakeholders whom you consider as important, so that you can say or you can identify what are their opinions. You can take their opinions into consideration while identifying which of the topics are most important to them. When it comes to financial materiality, this is more of the outside in approach. And here it is about what is the impact that the external environment has on the companies itself. And in case of the company, of course, it's about the company's finances. In this case, you also have to do a risk and opportunity assessment. And that is very important from a financial perspective, because that is how you identify which topics are important from a financial perspective. That's also why the whole double materiality assessment is also called the impact, risk, and opportunity assessment. So this is overall about what double materiality encompasses. Now, about why it is important to do a double materiality assessment. There are various factors. One is, of course, in terms of transparency. So transparency, I mean, once you have done the double materiality assessment, you have a very clearly defined approach. And through that, any investors or any other stakeholders who want to know or what exactly is the approach that you have chosen, or rather on what basis you have chosen the topics that you're reporting on. They can very clearly and transparently understand what are those topics. So if you can move on to the next slide, right, so that people can see what I'm talking about. And then, of course, this serves as a basis for the business strategy as well as for the goals, because once you identify what are the topics or what are the matters which are important for the company, you can identify metrics, you can identify targets, you can have policies. So all of these would form the basis for your strategy and any of the goals that you set in terms of sustainability, which is also another key reason why double materiality is considered one of the first steps, not just for reporting. It is important for the company's overall strategy as well. And then, of course, now it's a regulatory compliance, right? Like there's no two ways about it. Like you have to do it. It's not an option. So, that is how it helps over there. And finally, it's very important in terms of stakeholder engagement. From my experience, when you actually reach out to the stakeholders, they really appreciate it, right? They really think that, oh, wow, okay, a company is actually reaching out, they're taking my opinions into consideration. It creates a more valuable relationship that way. So that is how double materiality assessment also helps in terms of creating meaningful relationships with the stakeholders and engaging with them. The overall impact over here of conducting the double materiality is now you have a very clear basis for your decisions, whether it's in terms of the reporting, whether it's in terms of the strategy. You have a very clear basis for choosing like what is the strategy that you have to take into consideration going forward, what do you have to report on. And then for the financial part, you have to do the risk and opportunity assessment. So that way you make sure that you are, risk proof. Since you've identified the risks, now you can figure out strategies in order to manage or mitigate those risks. And then since you'll be identifying opportunities, now you can also capitalize on those opportunities which are related to all of these material topics. So I think that very briefly covers this portion about a brief overview about double materiality. Over to you, Neha.
Yeah. So thank you, Shambho, for joining us, and thank you for sharing your experience. So based on your experience, we really understood. And now let's take a quick poll here. Again, it's time for a quick poll. Let me stop sharing my screen. And here we go. Please start voting on the poll here, because we really want to know that have you already completed double materiality assessment as part of CSRD requirement or not? Because this helps us to understand the industry standards and where the companies are there for this approach. So please submit your polls here. Yes, we'll wait for a few more seconds. We already have 57% of the poll, and please coming in. The more polls, please let's comes in. Okay, so I will be publishing the result here, and yes, Shambho, you can see here that 29% of the attendees have already completed, which is a good thing. 41% have not yet started, 11% are already in process, and 17% needs help in getting started. So this is a very interesting poll here, and we really got an insight here. So now, thank you for participating again. It really helps us a lot. So now next we have Biswajit, who will walk us through how to practically implement double materiality assessment with some real world examples from the engineering and construction sector. So Biswa, over to you. I will not take much time. Please take the stage.
Yeah. Thanks, Neha, for the introduction, and thanks, Shambho, for setting up the context. Now I'll be discussing about the double materiality assessment implementation processes and majorly the steps involved in that process. Although ESRS do not mandate how the materiality assessment process shall be designed or conducted by an undertaking, however, a materiality assessment aligned with ESRS could follow the process outlined here. It all starts with understanding the context in which the business is operating, which essentially means an overview of the overall business, their business activity, their business plan, their strategy, their finances, their product and services, the geographic location of their business activities. Along with that, an understanding of their key affected stakeholders, as well as the consumer of their sustainability report. Consumer of the sustainability report are majorly the investors, the bankers, or any financial counterparts. Then, as a business, we tend to prioritize the opinion of a certain set of stakeholders over the other, which in turn depends on the context in which the business is operating, right? In some of the cases, the organization might feel that they want to, give more weightage to the opinion of certain investor or certain board of directors compared to the rest. And this is how the prioritization of the stakeholder happens. In the next step, the undertaking identifies various impacts, risk, and opportunity across the three pillars, which are known as environmental, social, and governance, matters across its own operation as well as its upstream and downstream value chain. Now, how we can do that? This can be done through various internal assessment, external research, as well as some peer benchmarking as well. And this will in turn result in a long list of impacts, risks, opportunity associated with various sustainability matters, which would be obviously followed by further assessment. And that is going to be discussed in the next step. In the next step, the company applies various criteria based on their business context for assessing various impact and financial materiality in order to determine the actual and potential impacts, risk, and opportunity associated with its business activities. Now, this can be done through a combination of both impact and financial assessment. In impact assessment, majorly the engagement with various affected stakeholders, namely such as own workers, their representatives, certain communities, take place in order for the undertaking to better assess the severity as well as the likelihood of various impacts. Similarly, in financial assessment, the engagement with the various business functions, the investors, and other financial counterpart take place. Now, it is done in order to better assess, validate, and ensure the completeness of the outcome of the materiality assessment. Now, as for ESRS, an information is considered to be financial material if omitting, misstating, or obscuring that information could influence the decision that any primary user of the general purpose financial report, for an example, investors or any bankers, may take on the basis of their sustainability report while they are considering providing investment or finances for various business activities or various business expansion. Now, moving to the final step where we collect all the results that is obtained from our previous step and then finalize the list of material topics. Then moving into the next section, as I mentioned earlier, ESRS do not necessarily mandate how the materiality assessment can be conducted by an undertaking. But here are a few suggested methodologies which can be followed for the double materiality assessment. One such methodology can be your materiality matrix. Now, we can create materiality matrix by considering one of the axis as your impact axis, that is nothing but your important to stakeholder axis, which essentially represents the non-financial impact of the company's activity majorly on environment as well as social. And some of the example of that can be your human rights issues, labor practices, community engagement, climate change effect, biodiversity, etc. And other axis can be considered as your financial axis, which is nothing but important to the business axis, representing the financial impact of various sustainability issues on the company's performance. Now, the company's performance can be affected in terms of their revenues, their costs, their profitability, their market valuation, etc. Now, then we can plot various sustainability issues based on their potential impacts on the business activity or to the stakeholders. Now, the next methodology can be, which is considered to be the most efficient and more diverse methodology, that is survey and interview. In this method, like, we can engage with a wide range of stakeholders such as internal functions, customers, your value chain partners, investors, and other financial counterparts, and listen to their opinion. And then we can prioritize their various sustainability issues based on their inputs, as well as the priority we have set for various type of stakeholders. Now, we can also look at various peers within the same industry that we are functioning in order to identify various sustainability issues which can be predominantly considered as the most important within the industry. Now, this will help us prioritize material issue for the company's own assessment. Also, we can conduct a scenario analysis where we can create various future scenarios. For an example, there might be regulatory changes coming up. There will be technological advancement. Then we can actually evaluate various potential financial, non-financial impacts of various sustainability issues relating to these future scenarios on the company activity and prioritize these issues accordingly. Now, enough of the definitions of or the methodology, the steps of double materiality assessment. Now let's take a deep dive into how the double materiality assessment can be implemented in real world life. So, assuming that the user is from a engineering and construction background or industry, then in the first step, the user is, or the project owner, which is going to set up the double materiality assessment process, is asked to choose a set of topics which might be relevant to the industry as well as their business functions and activities. In this example, engineering and construction industry, we can see that climate change, GHG emission, waste management are some of the topics, as well as you can consider biodiversity, water quality, and so on. For environment, for social, there can be diversity, inclusion, health, and safety. These are the topics which would be very important and which would be very relevant for the engineering and construction industry. Now, they can select all these topics and create a long list of topics on which they can start conducting the double materiality assessment. Now, Iris Carbon have taken a extra step where they have also hinted or also have recommended few topics for various respective industry in order to help you choose your long list of topics. We have conducted various peer benchmarking for few of the top peers within the same industry. And also we have included various SASB recommended topics for various industry in order to make the life of the user easy. Then in the next step, there comes the survey pen, where the user, as mentioned earlier by Shambho and me as well, that in stakeholder engagement, you will be obviously need to engage various type of stakeholder and as many stakeholders as possible, right? So here the user is prompted or user is asked to put in all the information for all the stakeholders who are going to participate in the survey. And as I mentioned previously, that the organization might tend to prioritize the opinion of a certain set of stakeholders over the other. So we need to assign some weightages to various set of stakeholders. We can, in these steps, we can also do that. Here we can select the type of stakeholders we want. Here we can assign various weightages to them. In the next step, once all the information of the stakeholders who are going to participate are filled up, then a survey link is sent to all the stakeholders that are involved in the double materiality assessment. Now, each of the stakeholders are asked to fill the survey form for both impact and financial assessment. That might include various metrics and parameters. And it is, as Iris Carbon, the platform is designed in such a user-friendly manner that the respondent will not, feel difficulties figuring out what the terminologies are involved. Like sometimes it happens that if you are sending a survey link to any of the stakeholders, they might not be aware of what impact materiality is, what financial materiality is. So our platform is designed in such a way that it gives a very intuitive options or intuitive information so that they will not face any difficulties while filling on the responses. Now, once the user is done with the survey, all the survey data is collected and it produces a double materiality matrix. Now, the organization can further conduct an impact risk opportunity assessment on the topics identified here in order to further shortlist their material topics. And of course, once you are done with the selection of your material topics, it is followed by an appropriate fulfillment of the disclosure requirement for the selected material topics. Now, once you are done selecting the material topics, now the next step is to fill the disclosure requirement for all the selected topics. We understand that ESRS reporting is really extensive. Therefore, Iris Carbon have created predefined templates based on the CSRD guidelines, the ESRS taxonomy, and the implementation guidance 3 data validation, in which we have translated the disclosure requirement that are presented in the CSRD document into an easy to understand question and answer and tabular format. We also have provided various sample answer, which can be a good starting point for the companies to start filling up their responses to all this disclosure requirement. For an example, in engineering and construction industry, we have seen that climate change was one of their material topics. So they need to fulfill the disclosure requirement for climate change. And we understand that as per CSRD, E14 requires company to disclose about their GHG emission reduction targets. Now, this information might there be in the document as in some paragraph, which can be a little difficult for user to understand and fill in the information accordingly. So we have translated that information into a very user-friendly manner in which the user would not be feeling very, very difficult, would not be facing any difficulties to fill the disclosure requirements. So in nutshell, this was a quick demonstration of what are various, double materiality assessment implementation processes, how can they be implemented, and this is a quick demonstration of how the double materiality assessment is actually included in Iris Carbon ESG module. I think this is it from my side. Over to you, Neha.
So thanks, Biswa. It's always helpful to see how theory translates into practical. So before going into the next segment, before that, I would like to start a poll here, because basis on the poll and the results, our next topic is highly dependent. So here is the next poll of the session here. So what do you think will be the biggest challenge for your organization in implementing the double materiality? Is it the data collection? Is it the stakeholder engagement? Is it the identifying risk and opportunities and regulatory compliance? So here I would like to have 100% voting, because depend on the result, we will be speaking about the challenges. So please, this is the last poll of the session. So please keep the votes coming in. 44% have already voted. We are looking for 100% here. Everyone, please keep on voting. It's 6% already. Shambho, you're watching the results, right? It's really very interesting.
Yes.
Please keep on the vote. Keep coming the voting. It's 67%. Okay, so let's publish the result here, and we have a very interesting results where 38% of the attendees are saying that the data collection is the thing where they find it the biggest challenge. 27% is saying that the stakeholder engagement is the biggest challenge, and 22% are saying that identifying risk and opportunities is the biggest challenge, and 11% of the attendees are saying that the regulatory compliance is the biggest challenge here. So yes, Shambho, we would like you to move to the other next segment, where please give us an insight that what are the exact challenges for the organization to implement the double materiality assessment. So Biswa?
Thank you, Neha. It's a very interesting question, and thank you everyone who voted for this. It looks like data collection and the stakeholder engagement is the most challenging part, and that is true because obviously it's completely an external factor. It doesn't depend on just the organization. So naturally, this would probably be one of the most challenging aspects. And for that, it's simply about trying to do it in advance. Practically speaking, if you identify 200 stakeholders, if you send a survey, or if you try to engage with them, maybe you'll get 100 responses, 100 or 120 responses. That's always the case, and that's all right. So that's why it's important to identify a large set of stakeholders right from the beginning, and then proceed to collect the data from them and engage with them in terms of what do they feel are the most important topics for your organization. And it's also about making them understand. Sometimes what happens is the stakeholders don't really understand what they're rating, or they don't really understand what exactly they're supposed to do. So there it's very, very important to figure out or rather explain to them what exactly is going on, or at least have something which is very intuitive, or so that would really help in terms of getting the responses from all of the stakeholders. Some of the other challenges, of course, are in terms of the ESG issues itself. How do you identify which are the matters which are most relevant to you? Because, like, for example, within climate change, there are various topics. It could be, you could specifically be looking at climate change adaptation or climate change mitigation, or else about the energy management. Similarly, underwater, there could be water withdrawal, water discharge, the recycling, so many different topics, right? And many of the topics are also interconnected, particularly in social and even in environmental, some of the topics are interconnected. So that's where it is very important to start it from well in advance. If you do it at the last moment, you might end up with topics that may not be that relevant to you, but you still have to report on it. Because obviously, once you identify a topic, you will, as material, then you will definitely need to report on all the metrics which are relevant to that sustainability matter. Apart from that, there's also identifying the relevant risks and opportunities, even if you've identified which are the topics. Now, how do you identify which are the risks which are relevant for you? And for each topic, that would differ because it's not static. It will differ for every organization. For example, water, the risks associated with water could be very different for a company which operates in a lot of high water stress areas versus a company which doesn't operate in many high water stress areas, right? So that's why it would differ a lot per company. And apart from that, you can also engage with your internal teams itself to identify what are the risks and opportunities associated. And finally, there's the evolving regulations. There's always a new compliance to take care of pretty much every other day. So that makes it challenging. So it's important to have a tool or else to have relevant personnel who are always keeping track of it. So that's about it from my end. Over to you. Yeah.
Yes, Shambho. So we can already see where the challenges might lie for many of us. So now, as the next part of the session, Biswa, can you keep sharing your screen?
All right, just give me a second.
Yeah. So as the next part of the session, we have few resources, a link for resources, which you can always go through the link where all the information related to the resources are there. So this deck will be shared with you after this session, and in that you can find these links where each and every details about the double materiality will be available. Now it's now for the final part here of the session. Let's open the floor for the questions from the audience. So please type your questions in the Q&A section. We will take it one by one. Due to the time constraint, we will take few of them, and rest of the questions will be answered via email or any other communication. So the first question here is your solution similar to Salesforce Net Zero Cloud? So here, Shambhu, would you like to take this answer? Because even I would like to know that what is Salesforce Net Zero Cloud, and is our solution, that is Iris Carbon solution, is similar to this?
This is a very good question, and I think it is very relevant because our name is Iris Carbon. But the Salesforce Net Zero Cloud is more about the carbon accounting and the ESG data management, whereas our solution is more about a comprehensive end-to-end ESG reporting, right? So there's a difference over there. So once you know what are all the data points that are relevant for you, then you can collect and manage that data using the Salesforce Net Zero, versus ours is more about reporting the data for compliance with CSRD.
Okay, interesting. Okay,
We can
so next
also
question is
collect, we can also first collect the data and aggregate it as per the templates that we have for ESRS.
Right. Okay, so next question is, how often should an organization update its double materiality assessment for sustainability? So Shambhu, please share your...
Yeah. It's also a very interesting question. So typically 3 to 5 years is the recommended time frame within which to update the materiality assessment. But having said that, if there are any significant changes in the organization, such as mergers or acquisitions, or else any other significant factor which causes a change, at that point, then it's definitely recommended to conduct the materiality assessment again.
Oh, this is interesting. Okay, and the next question is, does the ESRS mandate to actively engage in dialogue with affected stakeholders for the materiality assessment process?
It's not really a mandate. It's more like what CSRD says is that you need to take their opinions. It can even be quantitative. As long as their opinions are taken, you don't have to engage in a dialogue with the stakeholders. As long as you get their opinions, even if it's in terms of ratings or surveys, then that is also good enough in terms of the CSRD or the ESRS mandate.
Okay. So thank you, Shambhu, for your response and answers. So yeah, thank you, audiences, for all your questions here. For those who are not answered, we will be sending you an email and we will follow up after this session. So next is coming to the next slide, Biswa. Yeah. So next, stay tuned for our next webinar, where we will be dive you deeper into the next step after double materiality. That is template-based approach for data collection, aggregation, and reporting. So double materiality is one part. And once the double materiality process is completed, then comes the data collection, aggregation, and reporting, which really plays a very important part. And this is something which we will be coming in. We will be explaining you in our next session. So we will send out the more details soon. So please stay tuned. So yeah, before we close, we would like to leave with a final thought. Biswa, next slide, please. So as always, we have a special offer to you. For those who attended today, we are offering a 30 minutes free consultations for double materiality assessment and gap analysis. All you need to do is just send an email to info@iriscarbon.com. So thank you again. And yes, thank you for the speakers for giving us your rich experience and information. And goodbye to all the attendees and wishing you a great day ahead. Thank you.